Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me once again. You're always most welcome. Today something a bit different. We have a book to look at, a modeller's book from the king himself, Spencer Pollard. Now I'm a big fan of Spencer and a big fan of his work and a big fan of a lot of his publications as well. And I've had several of his books now, and this is one I actually spoke to him. I met him at the Nantwich show back in February 23. And I got chatting to him and I said, I'm really keen to get my hands on this, because he was considering, and he mentioned, I think on his Facebook page, he mentioned that he was considering republishing one or two of his books. And I said, are you going to do the Tamiya Tomcat book, because I've got two versions of it and I'd really like to see that. And he said, yeah, I will, but I just need to get a few people to definitely want it, because if he has to pay for reprint, it's not very economic, you know. So I said, well, I'll pay straight away. So he decided he'd go ahead with it, and I paid him in seconds, you know, because I was keen. Anyway, he's a nice guy, Spencer, and he's an absolute genius modeller, one of the best for sure. So this, I've not opened this. It's just arrived in the postman. Trying to get this stuck to itself. Just arrived at the postman an hour or two ago. So here we are. First time it's come out of the bag. I think that this merits quite a bit of looking at, because this Tamiya Tomcat is such a wonderful kit, and there's something very interesting he says on the back, which says it all, I think. And he says, in 40 odd years of building kits, there we go, I've never, not once, been presented with something that is so pleasing to build. So that tells you everything you need to know about the Tomcat. I've not got around to building either of mine yet, but that's going to change in the not too distant future. I plan to build it within a year. Maybe less. But everyone who's built it, you see lots of reviews and lots of people who've actually got build videos on YouTube, and nobody has a bad word to say about this kit. And in fact, it's so supremely engineered that people have said that they have used minimal glue in it, you know, absolutely fantastic. Perhaps I should have put the kit out behind me, but there's several versions. So this one is, he's modified the book, I think. It was the A, and then it's now A and D. So he's covering all the bases. So let's have a look at what we got. I'll zoom you in rather than me be out in the shot, and we'll flick through this just to give you a bit of a flavour of what it's like, really. But I say, usually Spencer's books are absolutely brilliant. So here we go. I know he did enjoy the build, and he talks about his initial thoughts. Obviously, I've not read this book, so I've just opened it right in front of you, so I'll just skim through it, really. And he's got here, is that? Yeah, USS Enterprise, the bounty hunter, and he's talking about the various clever ideas that are in the kit. Like, it's got these screws that enable you to have the swinging wings. It's quite a robust system, and because you have effectively like a glove system, where the outer wing that you see slides onto an inner wing, it means you can detach them from these inner wings, which is useful, because if you want to go to shows, or you need to move it, or you're moving house, this is a real asset, because it means you don't damage the kit so easily. You can put the outer wing somewhere safe. And it shows you here cutting off the sprue, drilling holes, all the things we love, and you know, the test fitting. And here's the point. I remember listening to him talk about this in a video, having just finished the model, and he said something like, he said he's never encountered a model where you need so little glue, because everything just push fits and clicks together. Not in a toy-like way, but in a just supreme precise engineering way. And things like, I think he said that the tails, he never glued the tails on, because they clicked in and locked without glue. It's an amazing piece of technology and injection moulding, this. And the way they've conceived it in Tamiya is quite exceptional, I think. If anybody wants a really nice Tomcat and they don't like fighting, I mean, I talked about my personal battle with the Kinetic Sea Harrier. I know what one of the two of you keep saying, oh Peter, let it go, let it go. I can never let it go. But it was exactly the opposite. You had to test fit, you had to modify, scrape, sand, test fit. You're not going to be doing that with this kit from Tamiya, and that's what Spencer said, of course. Just astonishing the way that it almost drops together, really, making it a pleasure. So you end up having such a straightforward build, something that's quite a complicated looking machine, and it just gives you the enthusiasm and the energy to want to do more on the weathering side, rather than having the mother of all battles, as I described it, like I had with the Harrier. Just to get the thing built was just horrendous. This is the exact opposite. This is going to, it's almost like you're being given a helping hand at every stage, really. So anyway, back to the zoom me back in. Back to the book. I'm already glad I bought this because I think he's going straight to the heart of the things that make it special. He's saying here, intakes are moulded in one-piece sections. One or two tiny mods he's made. There are a number of small changes that needed to be made to the panel layout in this kit. This area needed to be filled to create the alpha model depicted in the kit. Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. And then he's talking about the simple but elegant construction of the wings. And he's talking about this idea I just explained about how they slide on. And then he's talking about the amazing fit of these areas around the intakes and the way that the two... I'll zoom in on this because this is very important. What does he say here? Test fitting the nose to the rear fuselage. This is without any glue. Astonishing. A perfect buttered fit. Look at that. It just butts straight up to it. Supremely engineered, you know, with no discernible gap. It just looks like a panel line, doesn't it? Fantastic. And it's very useful because he talks about the experience of actually building it, blow by blow by blow, and he's also talking about painting as you go here. Oops. Painting as you go and masking. Looks like some very fine masking work there with some sausage, blue tack sausages, or worms we sometimes call them. And then he's talking about how to pre-paint all the bits like the glove veins, etc. Inflation bags. Done a lovely job of this, hasn't he? Look at the paint job he's got there. Nice. Well, up to his usual standard. I mean, he's almost the gold standard in the UK anyway. That's my view. I think so. He's one of the best we've got, really. Look at that gun Sanyo. He's given a list of all the different materials he's used, different paints. Not that many actually. Not that many. And then he's on to his Phoenix missiles on the pallets underneath, which look absolutely superb. Yeah, and of course they've got this clever design. Another thing that Tamiya did that was clever. They moulded a much bigger piece beyond the actual canopy itself in clear, so that you don't have to, so that masking becomes a doddle and you don't have a join where you have to glue the clear part into the main fuselage. You've got this extended section, so you can, you don't have that join of clear being a separate part and a risk of fogging with the adhesive. Very, very clever. What's he saying here? Shoulder pylons, yes. I'm getting bogged down reading it now. I'm going to be here all night, I can see. And then look at that, doesn't it look nice? He's got those glove veins, inflation bags all done. And he's done several. He's done Nimitz, Black Aces aircraft. So he's obviously done, he's done several. Is that a D? Is that the D? That's still the A. Still the A. I'm going to do mine in the Nimitz colours from the Final Countdown. So it's a 1979 aircraft. And he's saying that Furball Aero Design have got many different markings that you might want to consider as aftermarket if you want to do different versions. There, interesting. But look at his cockpit he's achieved. That's beautiful, isn't it? What fantastic work. He's a clever chap, there's no doubt about it. And look at his seats. They look very quite colourful, aren't they? Let's get a bit closer. Look at that. Wow. And then, yeah, he's showing the weapons, sorry, the electronics bay. Electronics bay here. Talking about the subtleties of the different colours that are required. I wasn't very interested in weathering the model per se, but I was very keen to define the panel lines. He's gone for quite a clean looking aircraft, but obviously he wants to have the panel lines in relief to each other. Wow. Look at that. Some of the finished shots here, look at that. Very, very nice. I'm tempted to say he goes into the problems that you encounter, but I don't think he really had any problems. They're just one or two subtle differences and things that were just trying to get the best out of the fit, I think. Sequencing is quite important. And then of course he's talking about the real aircraft examples that are around the world still today. Royal International Air Tattoo, the 8th of September 1993. Oh yes, it came over to the UK. There's a picture of it in the UK. That's cool. And then there's lots of, this is what I like about Spencer's books, he puts lots of close-up detail of the actual aircraft, which is a real excellent resource then. It gives you such a good reference book. And then he gets into the D, and it's the Tomcat, which is used during the Gulf War, I think, using the Lantern system, Lantern equipped attack aircraft, free fall, dumb bombs and laser guided bombs, of course. Again, the Navy's ultimate high precision bomber. Yes, and he's highlighted some of the subtle differences here between the A and the D, things that are different, differences in the cockpit, with the sort of head-up display and the TFT screens are a bit different to the earlier version, of course. And does that look nice? He's a very talented chap. Talking about the masks. Using super metallics on the engines, he says. Okay. I've not tried them. He's talking about the weathering and how some of these Ds especially were often allowed to weather quite a bit, actually. Dead flat paintwork, quite different to their earlier versions like the A, which generally was very white and pale grey and white. These are more of a sort of what do they call it? Is it ghost grey? Ghost grey? Try to remember. Yeah, ghost grey, that's right. And then he's talking about the differences, subtle differences in things like the glove veins and the. Didn't they have some differences in the sweep? He's done weathering here on the marking on the sweep of the wing, rather than using a decal. I think he's done it with the airbrush to just give it that slightly more random, slightly more perhaps realistic finish to it. Inflatable wing seals, and he's really weathered them up, as you can see, very nicely. Phoenix missiles, laser guided bombs, and some lovely weathering here actually. Fuselage tanks, something like a snake eye style bomb. I think we'll be on the snake eyes here, aren't we? That's the GBU-12s. They do have the snake eye, similar to them. They've got those extending fins, haven't they? Drag fins. And then we've got a lot of detail here about how he's gone weathering things like the pallets underneath and the gear and the sort of panel weathering. He's gone into all detail for you there. It's a good book. I'm glad I bought it. Now, what did I pay for this book? I think it was, I'm going off memory now, it's about £30? I think it was £35 including postage, if I remember correctly. Which is fine, I think you're getting good value, to be honest, here. You've got all these references for the real aircraft, all useful. Some great sort of head-on shots like there, in-flight shots, lots of material here. Nice book. Final thoughts. He says, what a pleasure it was to build this kit, one of the greatest designed. It must now be obvious from the contents of this book, he says, that the Tamiya F-14 is a very special kit. It pushes the boundaries of what is possible in this scale as a technical exercise but also one that provides one of the most enjoyable builds you'll find anywhere in our hobby. Wow, well there you go. Anybody that doesn't like a Tomcat, you're missing out. AMK Tomcat? No thank you. I don't think so. No. Great Wall Hobby, I think I'll give that a miss as well really. Anyway, Spencer Pollard's book, I think that's an excellent publication. I'm very pleased I bought it. I have got another book about building this kit actually, but I really wanted to read his thought process. He's a very rational, very logical guy, and he will always tell you the best way to assemble it to get the most out of it, with, you know, giving the most flexibility and also achieving results without falling into the one or two traps that can get you. You know, I mean, things like the instructions. He does sometimes say, you know, the instructions do not always take you down the most rational path on all kits. Sometimes, if you've built one, and I can vouch for this with the Sea Harrier. And by the way, I think he's going to be building some of those himself. Good luck with that. I mean, he's done them before. He's fine. He knows what he's doing. But again, the instructions completely mislead you, and he sidesteps that. I don't think the Tamiya instructions are misleading. I'm not saying that at all. But he sometimes says, well, actually, you better if you put this on first because it makes things easier to do this later. There's no substitute for having that kind of quality of information, I think. So there we go. So that's Spencer Pollard's Let's Build a Tamiya 148 F-14A and D Tomcat. I give that 10 out of 10. Thanks very much, Spencer, because it arrived today. I was actually just saying to somebody yesterday, where's my book? I paid him ages ago. But I guess he's had to wait for the publishers to get that out, so it's just come really bang on in the right moment for me. And I really appreciate that. I'd commend that book to you if you're interested in the Tomcat. I've got the two versions of the A, the early and the late A. Of course, the late A is the Tamiya version in the launch position with all the flaps and slats out. Brilliant book. Hope you enjoyed that, found it interesting. Recommend the book to you. If you want to contact me, rather than publish his details, contact me and I'll, if you want the book, and I'll just pass you on to Spencer, the easiest way I think. Or you can contact him on his Facebook page. I think it's called The Kit Box. That's the name of his Facebook sort of website. The Kit Box and The Kit Box Presents. That's where you'll find the man himself. So, well done, Spencer. 10 out of 10 from me. Hope you'll give me 10 out of 10 as well for that review. Hope you found it interesting. Thanks very much for joining me. More interesting reviews coming very soon. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves. And bye for now.